Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we thank you very much for joining us on such very short notice for a very important press briefing. This afternoon, our focus will be on telecommunications and development in the Kalinago territory, and I'd like to welcome with us the Honorable Minister of the Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment, and he's also the parliamentary representative for the Salibia constituency, Honorable Kozia Frederick. With us as well is the Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for telecommunications and broadcasting, Senator the Honorable Oscar George. And as well with us is the Minister for Public Works and the Digital Economy, Honorable Kasani Laville. Our special thanks to our media partners for always being willing to come on board. As we get started this afternoon, I'd like to welcome the Honorable Kozia Frederick with our first remarks this afternoon. Thank you.
Mabrika to all. I stand here in total agreement with the saying that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. In this regard, I would like to place on record my admiration of the bravery expressed by my Kalinago sister in voicing her concerns related to internet connectivity in our sacred space, the Kalinago territory. The courage expressed by the young lady is of no surprise to me, as it is in keeping with our innate Kalinago warrior culture and the power of youth, both attributes which I hold very dear to my heart. I felt the empowerment of her voice articulated in a letter written to me dated Thursday, 11th June, 2020, describing her humble analysis of the situation. This being said, it is noteworthy how information can go viral and that messages indeed have tremendous power. In this regard, I am therefore delighted for the opportunity to introduce some of the realities surrounding the situation. Almost 42 years after our political independence, we live in a period where information technology and broadband access is important for daily life. Today, as we battle the COVID-19 pandemic, technology adoption has become a requirement and indeed an urgency. While we have our roadmap for development as a government, we will be the first to admit that we are confronted with challenges in this new reality. One of these obstacles is connectivity and access to broadband services in some of our communities. I must add that there has been no greater advocate for the Kalinago people than myself at the national, regional, and international level throughout my life. And I would never sit by as an elected member of parliament and a progressive minister of government and let there be any sort of bias against my people or any minority group for that matter. Let me also take this opportunity to express clearly that the government does not operate any telecommunication enterprise. However, it is our job to serve our citizens and intervene where we see challenges. As a result, the government, through the Ministry of Education, has ensured that all primary schools within the Kalinago territory are retrofitted with Wi-Fi internet services for the use of prescribed online learning platforms. All students, inclusive of secondary and college institutions, are therefore able to access the internet within scheduled time periods under the supervision of school management. Efforts are also being made to maximize on the usage of the service provided to the Kalinago Council at the Sensory Resource Center using the guest login username. The efforts to ensure student connectivity hinged on the unavailability of the normal public service, which at this point is being addressed by the Ministry of Telecommunications and Broadcasting and the National Telecommunication Regulating Commission. I therefore emphasize with my people in the Kanago territory and the 35 other communities around the country who are experiencing challenges with internet connectivity. My people, we are one Dominica, built on the legacies of our Kalinago and African ancestors. Therefore, the primary preoccupation of the government is to ensure that all services and opportunities are afforded to every citizen. We will continue to work with everyone and lobby on behalf of the masses to pursue an aggressive reconnection strategy and plan. We will also continue to provide the interim support required and negotiate with the telecommunication providers to ensure that no Dominican is left behind in receiving an access to internet connectivity. Even as we speak, major development projects continue in the Kanago territory amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the impending 2020 hurricane season, illustrating that the area is held in high esteem by all government institutions and international agencies. These national initiatives have continued to impact the population positively. For instance, the government continues to prioritize housing, and it is expected that 10 homes be available to families, as these residencies are feverishly coming to completion across the Kanago territory. This will unambiguously provide a safe haven during the hurricane season for 23 adults, 11 males and 12 females, and 27 children, 15 males, 12 females. Built on scattered lots, these will add to the stock of similar homes in the housing schemes at L'Escalier in Siniku and Lagley in Concord, which are part of a sustainable building solution promoted by the Ministry of Housing and endorsed by the Kalinago Council. Additionally, the constituency will benefit from the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment Implemented Project, which is coordinated by the UNDP. This is the undertaking of a national reforestation project dubbed the Million Trees and Beautification Campaign by building 8 nurseries countrywide. Of significant importance is the establishment of one of these nurseries in the Concord Valley with the endorsement of the Kanago Council, with the fencing and the pumice floor nearing completion. This nursery will offer direct support to all residents of the Salebe constituency for the provision of plantlets to support agroforestry as an opportunity to generate income, which ultimately adds value to the development of a dynamic Dominica. Moreover, the direction or the redirection of the NEP is also spearheaded in the Salebe constituency and will focus on doing mitigation works in areas which are prone to flooding and landslide, with particular attention paid to vulnerable groups within the 10 hamlets across the jurisdiction. Activities being undertaken include unblocking of drains and culverts, pruning of overhanging trees, collection of white goods, and other related hurricane preparedness activities. This workforce reflects roughly 7% of the national program, which in effect serves all 21 constituencies around the country, while being a successful enterprise established in 2013. Furthermore, the Salebe constituency will additionally benefit from the DVRP, the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, with the commencement of Cassibrus to Hatton Garden Road rehabilitation. This section, referred to as lot number 4, totals 19.5 kilometers or 12 miles and will cost approximately Eastern Caribbean currency $79.5 million, which is part of a World Bank loan facility. This project has made provisions for compensation packages to be paid to affected landowners and will further ensure that all able-bodied, skilled constituents have an opportunity to be engaged by the contracting agency in various aspects of construction works. The project is expected to run for 2 years and will also offer the prospects for economic empowerment to numerous small food establishments, especially those operated by women who were previously trained under the project and certified by the University of the West Indies. Finally, numerous farmers within the area have also received a tremendous amount of support with inputs and tools like their national counterparts from Component 1 of the World Bank funded project, which focuses on the restoration of the recovery of agricultural livelihoods to the tune of some 21 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. This has been done under the Ministry of Agriculture, Dominica Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilient Project, in what has been observed to represent one of the largest investments in agriculture geared at transforming the sector. At this point, there are indeed major developments that are clearly apparent in the Kalinago territory, all of which are part and parcel of the national development. Thank you.
And our thanks to the Honorable Cozier Frederick. Again, he's the Minister for the Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment. We thank him for providing those details on the developmental strategies for the Kalinago territory and, of course, the Salibaya constituency by extension. And as the Minister responsible for constituency empowerment, it's even more fitting that you are here with us this afternoon. Next, we'll have remarks from the Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, with responsibility for telecommunications and broadcasting, Senator the Honorable Oscar George.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sinahari. Let me first acknowledge the presence of the Minister for the Environment, Rural Modernization and Kalinago Upliftment, and also the parliamentary representative for the Kalinago territory, Honorable Cozier Frederick. Also, we have the Minister for the Digital Economy, Honorable Cassaniel Avil, the media, all our listeners on the various forms of media. A pleasant good afternoon to all. Given the advent of COVID-19, all stakeholders have taken an aggressive strategic approach in addressing the issue of internet connectivity. Government has not only provided enhanced telecommunication services to facilitate the provision of public services such as education, but also we have undertaken an exercise to address the issue of fixed residential connectivity, especially in areas that does not have access to connections. I have been advised that actually access to data connectivity. However, the main problem is the cost of this connectivity and also fixed broadband services. I was also advised that a particular operator is undertaking works in the north of the island with the overall aim to eventually service the areas without connectivity. Prior to September 2017, Dominica could boast of broadband coverage of 95%. While the two major telecommunications providers have done relatively well in restoring coverage, our dear Kalinago territory is still one out of 36 communities awaiting reconnection. Even in some of the Prime Minister's constituency, we have challenges with connectivity, and I can assure you that we are all championing the cause aggressively. What the operators have been advocated is that the cost of service in these areas exorbitant. Hence, they do not present adequate return on their investment. Consequently, what they have done is service the areas where the return is higher with the intention to use the profits generated from these areas to invest in areas where the return on investment is low. So while I totally understand the frustration expressed by the student from the Kalinago region, and why I admire her bravery in voicing her concerns, the issue of racism or preference or marginalization are not warranted. And to be honest, this is far from the truth. Let me take this opportunity to express clearly that government is not mandated to develop telecommunication infrastructure and services. Notwithstanding, it is our job to serve our citizens and intervene where we see challenges. In light of that, we have done the following to address some of the urgent needs confronted by our people. Very early on, government met with all the service providers to clearly identify areas that have access to connectivity and those that do not. The objective is to be informed of the plans of the service providers to restore connectivity. Face-to-face learning has been halted in the face of COVID-19. Therefore, we ensured that we provided connectivity to all schools and in some instances, resource centers to allow access in a controlled manner. In the interest to maintain health and safety protocols, the Ministry of Education has implemented a cautious and controlled scheduling approach to allow these services. As we speak, I'm advised that 224 public facilities have access to the internet, out of which 70 are schools, both primary and secondary, and which also includes facilities such as health centers, resource centers, council offices, police stations, among other public facilities and public sites. Persons were required to work from home, hence fixed residential connectivity became critical. Through government intervention, the local regulator, the NTRC, published bids to address the connectivity issues. I'm advised that the in-house estimates and the proposals from the service providers significantly varied. So as we speak, both parties are reviewing these proposals. Government expects a solution as soon as possible, and will be very disappointed with the service providers if this doesn't materialize. As it relates to regulation, the licenses of the operators obligate that they should roll out their services in all localities. However, to date, this has not been the case. So we are awaiting a legal opinion from ECTEL, which is the regional telecommunications regulator, and the recommendations will be made through the NTRC as to how we treat this matter going forward. I must say, the NTRC has been at the forefront of the efforts aimed at restoring connectivity. And this drive is a collaborative effort between the operators, the regulator, and us as government. However, this is not an initiative that will just happen overnight. And we must acknowledge the fact that countries are facing difficult times, both financially and socio-economically, with the advent of COVID-19. Some of the most advanced economies were on the verge of collapsing. Millions of persons are now jobless. As we speak, thousands of companies have filed for bankruptcy. So this is a very, very serious issue. In the US alone, I must add, during the month of April 2020, over 38,000 companies filed for bankruptcy. That number was almost doubled the month before. Nevertheless, given these challenges going on in the environment, we will continue to seek to address the gaps in residential connectivity around Dominica. I am sure that we will maintain and attain similar levels of success in terms of fixed residential connectivity, just as how we did with the schools, because this government is of the view that basic connectivity should not be a luxury in 2020. And we won't just stop at that. We will also seek to implement relevant and updated legislation to ensure that service providers provide enhanced coverage, value for money, and do not exploit our consumers. As I speak, a draft bill has been created and it will address these same issues. So this is not a Dominican issue. Multiple countries in ECTEL member states face similar situations with respect to connectivity. So we are approaching this from a united front. We are also currently reviewing the establishment of an emergency or contingency fund for use by ECTEL and the NTRCs in the event of a disaster. This will be used and seek to address similar issues as the ones we currently face. In closing, COVID-19 has indeed exposed some limitations in the telecommunications sector. However, we are resolute, not only in Dominica, but all ECTEL member states, as we seek to foster connectivity and lay the platform for the transition into a digital and a more dynamic Dominica. I wish everyone a great day and a great weekend, and do continue to stay safe.
And thank you very much to the Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for telecommunications and broadcasting, the Senator, the Honorable Oscar George. As we wrap things up this afternoon, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. And of course, as a nation, we faced several trying periods. Erica, Maria, and now COVID-19. We've persevered and we continue to persevere. And as we all assess our individual needs, I'd like to remind us all that we also need to be mindful that we need to be tolerant, patient, and cooperative. Thank you, everybody.